And once again, I want to say greetings to each and every one of you. Aquala. Welcome. Welcome to another round of Tech and Future Talk here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. My name is Keedy Owado, aka The Conscious Rasta. Weekday mornings, we get together with you live from 9 a.m. Pacific Time. It's 12 noon Eastern Time, 5 p.m. BST, and 8 p.m. East Africa Time. We get together with you and we deal with culture, consciousness, historical perspectives, entertainment, economics, education, health, labor, law, politics, religion, family, conflict, future studies, all areas of human interactivity and development. Today's date is Thursday. So it's time for another round of Tech and Future Talk here on LIB Radio, where you and I get together to talk about what is happening in the world, what is happening in the future, and what you and I can do to better navigate that future. Today's date is, again, the 7th of August, 2025 in the Western calendar, 6266 according to the Cometian calendar, to which we have realigned our cultural clock. Welcome to the 7th millennium. You have found your family. You have found your family in a peaceful place here on LIB Radio, LIB TV, here on livinginblack.com. Let me tell you what we have in store for you today. I hope you find this to be informative and life enhancing. Life informing. Today is Tech and Future Talk on LIB Radio. The legal challenges facing Monsanto, now owned by Bayer, revolve around billions of dollars in lawsuits, alleging that glyphosate, a key ingredient in its Roundup herbicide, causes cancer, particularly non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The controversy intensified after the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as, quote, probably carcinogenic, unquote, prompting numerous individuals to seek justice through litigation. Bayer has faced significant financial repercussions, with settlements reaching staggering amounts. Yet it maintains that glyphosate is safe when used as directed. This situation raises critical questions about corporate accountability and corporate practices. So that is the subject for today. I look forward to hearing from you, our listening audience. Do check in with us if you would, please. We love hearing from you. You can drop us a note via the chat. We are today on rumble.com. We are broadcasting live on Facebook, as well as we are on YouTube. We welcome your commentary on either of these sites. You have found your family in a peaceful place. And if you like what you hear, can we get you to hit the like button one time? We'd love to hear you. Love to know that you're in the house and that you appreciate what it is that we are up to here at LIB Radio. One more time, I'm going to remind you, we are in the LIB Radio Emergency Fund Drive. We want to keep it up. We want to keep on going. We want to get stronger. And if you look at the titles for the last week of broadcast, this has been a particularly useful and strong week. So we welcome your input. Your contribution matters. And to the very best of our abilities, we do matter. Now I'm going to do one thing here. 1 second. I'm going to just close that window, and because the air conditioner's on, and it is expected to get hot today. I had to go into the desk for a second. It's expected to get 109 degrees today here in Las Vegas. That's a hot day. let's get into today's topic. I have a lot of research that I have pulled up for today, and I think you will find it to be informative. First of all, let's look at this issue, this controversy with glyphosate. We're going to turn to YouTube. First of all, I'm going to open up with this YouTube broadcast, and I'm going to put this up on StreamYard, put it in a new tab, one, and I'm going to pull that tab out, and bear with me, this is not yet going. And I'm going to then put this tab up into presentation, share screen. That's how I do it on StreamYard, y'all. Glyphosate, I have the tab there. It's sharing the audio as well. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to listen to this video. Should take place, it should take about 3-4 minutes to take place. And here goes the video one more time. Where we at? Let's try this one more time. And I'm going to share the screen and the video.
New herbicides, new pesticides, and basically harming people, sending an entire middle school in Hawaii that
Israel controls.
Let's try this from the beginning. I'm going to repeat this.
They control the Senate. They control our money.
I'm going to repeat this video. My apology, I did not have it yet on the screen. It is on the screen.
Now, why might you not want to ingest glyphosate? Besides what we've talked about before, with these companies developing test sites in islands like Hawaii and testing new herbicides, new pesticides, and basically harming people, sending an entire middle school in Hawaii that lived right under their test site to the hospital one day because they were testing a new pesticide. Maybe you're a fan of that and you're like, it's fine, I still support it. Glyphosate is classified as potentially carcinogenic, but the big organization in the small amounts that will show up in your problem, your body will deal with. Thing is, they say people that work directly with glyphosate can have an increase in lymphoma. And now we suddenly see people ingesting small amounts of glyphosate because it's in a lot of these fast foods. And we also see a massive, massive increase in lymphoma in the United States. Yet they continue to say, hey, in small amounts, totally fine. Eat your glyphosate. Personally, I disagree. I don't think eating an herbicide or a pesticide is a good idea if you can avoid it. Now, glyphosate is a relatively new old grand there is from trees in mice led to a worsening gut microbiome, a reduction in beneficial gut microbiome species, and a 2020 study showed that 54% of our gut microbiome might be sensitive to glyphosate. And yes, I know you will see some video with somebody in a lab coat going, all pesticides are safe, they get reviewed, and they're totally good. Think about this logically. If you are spraying something onto a bunch of crops that kills life, yes, it's killing pesticides, it's killing bugs. What do you think will happen when you ingest that? Come on, this isn't rocket science, guys. If you want to run that experiment on yourself and have a diet high in glyphosate by eating fast food, go for it. Me personally, I'm not going to do that. And another reason why I'm still going to offer people $100 to not eat McDonald's is this last ingredient. Now, why might you not want to ingest glyphosate? Besides what we've talked about before, with these companies developing test sites in islands like Hawaii and testing new herbicides, new pesticides, and basically harming people, sending an entire middle school in Hawaii that lived right under their test site to the hospital one day because they were testing a new pesticide. Maybe you're a fan of that and you're like, it's fine, I still support it. Glyphosate is classified as potentially carcinogenic, but the big organizations say that in these small amounts that will show up in your food, it's not a problem. Your body will deal with it. The thing is, they say people that work directly with glyphosate can have an increase in lymphoma. And now we suddenly see people ingesting small amounts of glyphosate because it's in a lot of these fast foods. And we also see a massive, massive increase in lymphoma in the United States. Yet they continue to say, hey, in small amounts, totally fine. Eat your glyphosate. Personally, I disagree. I don't think eating an herbicide or a pesticide is a good idea if you can avoid it. Now, glyphosate's a relatively new thing in the whole grand scheme of health. And there is a study from 2023 showing that low-dose glyphosate exposure in mice led to a worsening gut microbiome, a reduction in beneficial gut microbiome species, and a 2020 study showed that 54% of our gut microbiome might be sensitive to glyphosate. And yes, I know you will see some video with somebody in a lab coat going, all pesticides are safe, they get reviewed, and they're totally good. Think about this logically. If you're spraying something onto a bunch of crops that kills life, yes, it's killing pesticides, it's killing bugs. What do you think will happen when you ingest that? Come on, this isn't rocket science, guys. If you want to run that experiment on yourself and have a diet high in glyphosate by eating fast food, go for it. Me personally, I'm not going to do that. And another reason why I'm still going to offer people $100 to not eat McDonald's is this last ingredient. Now, why might you not want?
Okay. We allowed it to run 2 times through, and I'm going to disconnect this video right now. And that's what's on the table for today. I thought that the young man did a very, very good job. I'm going to put that short video up into the viewing or into the chat on rumble.com. I'm going to place that up here right now. Chat, yes. And I'm going to put that up on our Facebook chat as well. And so you have access to it as well. Put that video one more time up on my YouTube page, which is coming up right here. And I have to put it twice on my YouTube page since one of them is live and one of them is the promo for today's show. And then let's go into the details about what it is that I have come here today to inform, inspire, and to share with you what we are talking about. So here's where we are. We're into this dialogue. Exposure to Roundup, a widely used herbicide containing glyphosate, has been linked to several serious health conditions, particularly cancers affecting the lymphatic system. Here's a breakdown of the most commonly reported illnesses and injuries associated with Roundup exposure. First category is lymphatic and blood cancers. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, NHL, the most prominently linked cancer. Studies and lawsuits have repeatedly associated glyphosate exposure with an increased risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Chronic lymphocytic lymphoma, CLL. And 1 second here. And that's also known as small lymphocytic lymphoma, SLL, CLL, and SLL. These are subtypes of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Some experts, like Dr. Chadi Nabhan, believe Roundup exposure may contribute to their development. Diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, DLBCL, a common and aggressive form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Research has shown a connection between glyphosate and, again, the diffuse large B cell lymphoma, especially among agricultural workers. Burkitt lymphoma, though less frequently cited, this fast-growing B-cell lymphoma has appeared in some Roundup-related health discussions. Next, anaplastic large T null cell lymphoma, T/N-ALCL. This rare subtype of T-cell lymphoma has been mentioned in some legal and medical contexts, though the evidence is less robust. And the last one on this list of these 5 different types of cancer, acute myeloid leukemia, AML. Some studies suggest a possible link between glyphosate and acute myeloid leukemia, though more research is needed. So we are going to keep on going through this. 1 second. Next is other reported health effects from glyphosate. Yes, there are more damaging effects of glyphosate. 1, birth defects. Glyphosate may act as an endocrine disruptor, potentially affecting fetal development. 2, liver and kidney diseases. Chronic exposure has been associated with damage to these organs. Reproductive issues, Some research suggests glyphosate may impair fertility or hormone balance. And lastly, DNA damage and gut microbiome disruption. Glyphosate may harm genetic material and beneficial gut bacteria, contributing to broader health risks. Let's look for the supporting evidence. A 2019 analysis found a 41% increase risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma among individuals with high glyphosate exposure. Point two, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, classified glyphosate as, quote, probably carcinogenic to humans, unquote, in 2015. And last point, multiple lawsuits have resulted in multi-million-dollar verdicts for plaintiffs who developed cancer after Roundup use. Now, those are the supporting evidence. I think all of that is very, very important. I'm going to just put those points up in Rumble and on the YouTube page. Again, the first one, a 2019 meta-analysis found a 41% increase of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma among individuals with high glyphosate exposure. The second one, I'm going to put up, the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate as probably carcinogenic to humans. And what year was that done? That was in 2015. And the third one I want to put up, multiple lawsuits have resulted in multi-million-dollar verdicts for plaintiffs who developed cancer after Roundup use. And that is a very important point. I would ask that you, the listening audience, take responsibility for this research. I do the best that I can to share it with as many people as I can. I sometimes question how many of you are doing the same thing that I am doing, copying these links, sharing these links, store them on your computer, and let's do the best that we can to get the word out as wide as possible that there is a problem. No doubt there is a major problem there's a major problem to which we aim to offer a viable solution. So there, I put it all up, put it on my YouTube, put it on my Facebook. I put up 4 different places. And I encourage you to do the same. So let's continue right now. We are back on our main document. We're going to go into this next article. I'm going to pull it up. It's entitled, What Cancers Are Linked to Roundup Exposure? Of course, we will be overlapping and repeating parts of this. So this is going to overlap with what we just shared. And I'm going to do it, share it there, and let us continue. Let me open up this YouTube in another tab here in case anybody on the YouTube wants to talk to me. Talk to me. We appreciate it. You know we do. All right. I'm going to just mute this as well. Here we go. This article entitled, What Cancers Are Linked to Roundup Exposure, written by Alexander Gallo from Tosi Law, May 31st, 2023. Several cancers are linked to Roundup exposure, including non-Hodgkin lymphoma, acute myeloid leukemia, and large B-cell lymphoma. Glyphosate, the cancer-causing ingredient in Roundup, has been most commonly linked to non-Hodgkin lymphoma, NHL. Roundup weed killer is linked to non-Hodgkin lymphoma as the category. Furthermore, glyphosate could be an endocrine disruptor according to research on the subject. The chemical has been linked to birth defects, liver disease, kidney disease, and reproductive problems. Glyphosate may destroy helpful gut bacteria and damage DNA. Studies from 2019 showcase Roundup cancer connection. The link between Roundup and cancer is due to the product's main herbicide ingredient, glyphosate. Several 2019 studies report a link between glyphosate and cancer. Point: U.S. Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry's toxicological profile for glyphosate, April 2019, confirms a heightened risk of cancer from glyphosate exposures. Point 2, the International Journal of Epidemiology, March 2019, published a study in which they analyzed data from studies conducted in France, Norway, and the US of over 30,000 farmers and agricultural workers. The report divulged a connection between glyphosate and diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. Point 3, a new meta-analysis published in Mutation Research Reviews in Mutation Research, February 2019, revealed a compelling link, quote unquote, compelling link between glyphosate-based herbicides and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The study's authors included 3 who were members of the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, Scientific Advisory Board. And point 4, an analysis published in Environmental Sciences Europe, January 2019, challenged the US EPA classification of glyphosate, stating that the EPA ignored substantial scientific evidence of genotoxicity, the adverse effect on cells' genetic material associated with Roundup and other weed-killing products. Under the category of previous studies on Monsanto's Roundup herbicide and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a variety of research groups have studied glyphosate's carcinogenic properties. In 2015, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC, published its findings on the topic, stating that glyphosate, quote, is probably carcinogenic to humans, close quote. Later, another study entitled Exposure to Glyphosate-Based Herbicides and Risk for Non-Hodgkin's Lymphoma, a meta-analysis and supporting evidence, explored the NHL glyphosate connection. As a review of 6 earlier studies on the topic, the 2016 research focused its attention on individuals who had experienced high exposure to glyphosate. The researchers found that this high impact group demonstrated a 41% higher risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma than individuals with lesser or no exposure to the herbicide. Identifying high-risk groups for Roundup-induced cancer. Roundup has enjoyed a center stage position among agricultural workers since 1974. The powerful herbicide's popularity grew around the world and also gained traction for home and commercial use. A wide and varied population of Roundup users exists today. Some have experienced greater exposure to the weed killer and its glyphosate ingredient than others, but all suffer an increased risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and other cancers. Workers who stand at the most significant risk of Roundup exposure include the following: groundskeepers, commercial farmers, lawn maintenance workers, landscaping professionals, military, horticulturists, soil scientists and surveyors, Roundup users who develop cancer are suing Monsanto for negligence. And people who develop cancer are lining up to hold Roundup manufacturer Bayer Monsanto, accountable for their actions. All very, very important. Their legal claims, founded on the fact that Monsanto's multi-tiered acts of negligence directly caused their cancer. Specifically, plaintiffs are presenting the following arguments in their lawsuits against Monsanto. Argument number one: Monsanto designed and sold their Roundup product, which is carcinogenic. Finding number two: Monsanto was reckless and negligent in its testing of its Roundup product. Point number three: Monsanto was aware of the fact that its Roundup product is carcinogenic and failed to warn consumers. And point number four: Monsanto tried to sway regulators and scientists in their conclusions about Roundup's product's safety. Now, we have to understand one thing. This Roundup does not develop out of a void. Some of us are old enough to remember during the Vietnam War the widespread use of another Monsanto product, and that was Agent Orange. Let me real quickly remind you of what Agent Orange produced. So we're looking at what company created Agent Orange and what was its effect during and after the Vietnam War on humans. That's the question I am asking it of AI. Again, what company created Agent Orange and what was its effect during and after the Vietnam War on humans? So this is taking a little bit. I asked it for deeper thinking on this topic, and it should come to me. Roundup has been in stores since 1974. It is one of the most popular weed killers in the United States and is considered to be one of the most effective. However, Roundup is also linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This is because the active ingredient in Roundup, glyphosate, is thought to have harmful effects on human health. And here's what the inquiry came up with. Agent Orange was developed as part of the U.S. military's herbicidal warfare program and produced in the United States beginning in the late 1940s. 9 chemical companies manufactured it under government contract, including Monsanto Company, Dow Chemical Company, Diamond Shamrock Corporation, Hercules Incorporated, Thomas Hayward Chemical Company, Uniroyal, Thompson Chemical Company, Hoffman Taff Chemicals, and AgriSelect, with Monsanto serving as the primary supplier. The human health effects during the Vietnam War. Between 1962 and 1971, U.S. forces sprayed over 20 million gallons of Agent Orange in Vietnam. 20 million gallons. That's horrible. Acute effects, meaning quick acting, acute effects in exposed troops and civilians included chlorazine, severe acne-like skin lesions, respiratory irritation, numbness or tingling in the extremities, fatigue and edema, high High dioxin contamination, which binds in fat tissue, led to toxin accumulation in the body, heightened immediate and delayed health risks. What were the long-term and transgenerational impact? Decades after exposure, veterans and Vietnamese populations experienced elevated rates of cancers, including non-Hodgkin lymphoma, B-cell leukemia, Hodgkin lymphoma, prostate and respiratory cancers, type 2 diabetes, ischemic heart disease, Parkinsonism, and peripheral neuropathy. Children born to exposed parents have shown increased congenital, congenital malformations, such as spina bifida, heart defects, and cleft palate. Although epidemiological studies continue to evaluate causality, many nations recognize these conditions as presumptively linked to Agent Orange exposure and provide related health and disability benefits. So that is the long-term impact of Agent Orange, and it also talks about all of the companies that were manufacturing Agent Orange. All of that is very important. And I'm going to put this up into my research document. And going to go back up here, it says Roundup has been in stores since 1974. One of the most popular weed killers in the United States is considered to be one of the most effective. However, Roundup is linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma because the active ingredient in Roundup, glyphosate, is thought to have harmful effects on human health. Research on the effects of glyphosate is still underway, but the link is strong enough that major health organizations around the world have classified glyphosate as a likely carcinogen. Glyphosate is banned or highly regulated in more than 30 countries. In the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, and Food and Drug Administration, FDA, don't consider glyphosate to be a carcinogen. They do not consider glyphosate to be a carcinogen in the United States. However, several major lawsuits linking Roundup's use to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma have ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. Bayer, the company that owns Roundup, has paid out billions of dollars to people who have developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after using Roundup. In this article, we take a look at the link between glyphosate and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and how makers of Roundup are being held responsible for cancer. We'll also review weed killers that are safe to use for both you and the environment. So I did just read the part about Agent Orange, the manufacturer and its health effects. Here, let me just quickly say this, and I'm going to skip through. What is glyphosate? A substance called glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup. Glyphosate was invented in 1974 and can be found in hundreds of products that are used commercially and in private homes. Weed killers such as Roundup are one of the most common products containing glyphosate that people buy and use for personal gardening and lawn care. Products other than Roundup that contain glyphosate include Ortho Ground Clear, Ranger Pro herbicide, Dow Rodeo herbicide, and RM43 total vegetation control. What is the link between glyphosate and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma? There have been many studies into the effects of glyphosate on humans. Healthcare advocates and medical researchers have been concerned that glyphosate has the potential to cause cancer in humans. Now, let me do this real quick. I just want to post up for your benefit, our listening audience's benefit, these other products that contain glyphosate. And I posted it up on the YouTube, put it up on the Rumble, and I'm going to put it up on my Facebook page. And real quickly, this is very important. Paste this up here one more time on the Facebook page. And I'm going to put it up on Rumble. And nobody is yet talking to me today. Are you in the house? I think I do have a large audience. Has anybody hit the like button? Few of us have. So we do have people who like the program today, but please do, if you can, it's a simple gesture. Just hit the like button. Easy to do. It's a benefit to us, and it helps us during this critical time, during our emergency fund drive. It helps me to know that you are ready, willing, and able to do something, to do anything. Anything. You can see how hard I'm working today. I had to research all this material and gather it together and put the promo together and everything else. Let's each do our part. And we're going to do even better. Tell your friends about your LIV radio and why you keep coming back to learn. Tell your friends to tell their friends. What is the link between glyphosate and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma? There have been many studies into the effects of glyphosate on humans. Healthcare advocates and medical researchers have been concerned that glyphosate has the potential to cause cancer in humans. Early studies have suggested compelling links between glyphosate and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but noted the need for further studies because researchers were unable to definitively link the chemical to the development of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. A more recent study, and bear with me as this thing is putting this, a more recent study, where you at? A more recent study found that glyphosate increased the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma by 41%. Data from this and other research, such as this 2021 review, suggests that glyphosate may change human chromosomes and lead to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The study also suggested higher exposure to glyphosate, larger amounts for longer period of time, are riskier than using the product according to the label directions. More research is needed to draw a definitive conclusion on the link between glyphosate and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So let's talk about current regulations on the use of Roundup. Currently, neither the EPA nor the European Food Safety Agency links glyphosate to cancer in humans. Conversely, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, a branch of the World Health Organization, WHO, states glyphosate is probably carcinogenic to humans. Probably. There are regulations in some countries, in some areas of the United States, including the state of California, about the use of glyphosate or about the amount of glyphosate that products can legally contain. It talked about glyphosate and the environment. In addition to its suspected health effects on humans, there's growing evidence, according to Environmental Health News, that glyphosate might be harmful to the environment. Hello. For decades, it was thought that glyphosate was safe for plants, insects, water, and other wildlife. However, new data indicates that this is not the case. Studies show that glyphosate could be damaging to digestion and reproduction of bees and small water-dwelling wildlife. Over time, this damage could have ripple effects on food chains and large ecosystems. What are the symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma to look for after exposure to Roundup? It's important to contact a healthcare professional if you've been exposed to Roundup and you experience any symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Some early symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma are similar to the symptoms of other less serious conditions, such as the flu. However, if you've had any symptoms for more than a week or two, it's best to make a medical appointment. Symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma include the following. 1. Unintentional weight loss. 2. Fever. 3. Chills. 4. Night sweats. 5. Fatigue. 6. Chest pain. 7. Coughing. 8. Shortness of breath. Number 9, swollen lymph nodes in the neck, armpits, or groin that you can see as visible lumps under your skin. Number 10, swelling or pain in your stomach. Number 11, bone pain. 12, headaches. 13, vomiting. 14, dizziness. 15, confusion. 16, feeling weak or generally unwell. And 17, difficulty urinating. These are all symptoms of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Next point, have the makers of Roundup been found responsible for cancer? A company called Monsanto first began manufacturing Roundup in the 1970s, and a number of lawsuits have been filed against them. In 2018, Monsanto and the Roundup brand were purchased by Bayer. By the time Bayer purchased Roundup, thousands of lawsuits had already been filed. Bayer is now responsible for all current and future Roundup lawsuits. Many Roundup lawsuits still list Monsanto in the documentation, but Bayer now has final responsibility for any damages awarded to plaintiffs. Let's talk about a few of these Roundup lawsuit resolutions. There have been many different resolutions to Roundup lawsuits with thousands of cases still waiting for a ruling. Here are some prominent Roundup lawsuit results. Number 1, in 2018, a California court ruled that Roundup Bayer needed to do more to warn customers about the potential risk between Roundup and cancer. It awarded $20.5 million to a plaintiff who had used Roundup as a part of their job as a groundskeeper and had developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The court did not rule that Roundup had directly caused non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but it did rule that Bayer didn't do enough to warn customers of the possible risk. Point 2, in 2019, a California court ordered Bayer to pay $86.7 million to a couple who both developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after 30 years of Roundup use. Wow, that is shocking. It's shocking. $86 million. Both the husband and the wife developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, but also 30 years of using Roundup without ever catching word that it's dangerous. That's crazy. In 2021, a California court ruled that Roundup use wasn't the cause of a case of Burkitt's lymphoma and sided with Bayer. Next headline, Bayer agrees to pay more than $10 billion to settle Roundup lawsuits. $10 billion. In addition to individual lawsuits, thousands of individual cases have been consolidated. In June of 2020, Bayer agreed to pay more than $10 billion to settle current and future claims. Since the settlement was proposed, Bayer has been working in blocks to settle outstanding cases related to Roundup. As of the summer of 2022, Bayer has paid out about $11 billion to more than 100,000 people. It is estimated that this represents about 80% of the total number of people who qualify for the settlement. And Bayer has reportedly set aside more funds to continue negotiating settlement amounts. Are there organic weed killers that are safer to use and don't contain glyphosate? Not all weed killers contain glyphosate. There are several alternatives you can look into that are less risky for your health and the environment. Some safe alternatives include, number one, homemade weed killer. You can make your own weed killer using white vinegar, your favorite dish soap, and salt. Simply mix 1 gallon of vinegar, 1 cup of salt, and 1 tablespoon of dish soap together for a natural and safe weed killer. Point 2, Sunday Weed Warrior. Sunday Weed Warrior is a trusted organic weed killer for gardens. However, it is not safe to use on grass or other green surfaces. Number 3, Green Gobbler Weed and Grass Killer. Green Gobbler Weed and Grass Killer is a safe vinegar-based weed killer. Like Sunday Weed Warrior, it is best to use in your garden. This product will kill healthy grass along with weeds. Number 4, Bonide Burnout. Bonide Burnout is a natural, safe to use around people, and safe for grass and other green surfaces. And number 5, Earthborne Elements Borax Powder. Earthborne Elements Borax Powder can solve multiple problems at once because this weed killer is also an effective ant deterrent. So, what is the takeaway on our research for today? 1, Roundup is one of several weed killers made from glyphosate. Glyphosate has been in use since the 1970s, but recent data has linked it to harmful effects in humans, including non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Although research studies are still inconclusive, evidence about this link is growing. Several leading health organizations, including the World Health Organization, now label glyphosate as a likely carcinogen. There's the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC. Several lawsuits against Bayer, the company that makes Roundup, have sided with plaintiffs, and Bayer has paid out billions of dollars in settlement money. And lastly, using alternatives to Roundup, such as homemade weed killer or organic products, is a good way to lower the potential risk of glyphosate for you and the environment. And so that takes us through today's research. What do you think? Are you, like me, terrified, absolutely horrified about Roundup? I don't even like walking through Home Depot on the aisle where Roundup is piled up. They have thousands of gallons, containers of Roundup, all in the same section. And even when walking through there, you can smell it. It's got this metal, heavy, toxic metal kind of a smell to it. It's really very, very unpleasant, very unpleasant. So for me, my body, my spirit, my philosophy of life, my philosophy of gardening tells me stay away from it completely. Stay away from Roundup. I don't even want to smell you. But a lot of people are unfortunate, caught up in the atmosphere in the matrix, the convenience. We suffer for these conveniences. And I suspect we could do much, much better than this. I want to thank you for being a part of this. I want to thank you for all you do to facilitate me doing what I'm doing. So many of you are contributing. You contribute via the Cash App, and the Cash App is $KEIDIOBI. You see it in the banner that's streaming under there. Thank you for supporting us. You can go to libradio.com. On the front page of libradio.com, scroll down to the bottom, and you will see links to be able to make your contribution. You can make a contribution via one time, or you can make a sustaining contribution by clicking on the link that says become an LIB Radio subscribing supporter. $10 a month. You could do $20 a month, $30 a month, whatever fits your family's budget. You can also, we encourage you to purchase from our catalog. And you know something, I realize I need to update this front page of LIB Radio. The address is very, very old. I've moved 2 times since then. But we're going to encourage you, our listening audience, to do your part. I cannot do it alone. I can no longer afford LIB Radio alone. And I'm serious. So as we all pull together, the word is Harambe. Let's all pull together. Harambe. Harambe. Let's all pull together. Let's all pull together. Harambe. Let's all pull together. We can do whatever we will to do. Some of us will to transform the world. I have a mission. I want to feed the world. You know something? I have convinced a group of people to follow that mission. We want to feed the world. And we are not going to feed anybody to the very best of our abilities. We're not going to feed anybody glyphosate. We're not going to feed the people the food that causes cancer. That doesn't fit our mission. But I do need you to help. I ain't too proud to beg. I hope I'm not. We need your help. If you buy a book, and I'm still waiting to sell a single book this month of August on Amazon. Not one single book have I sold on Amazon. Unfortunately, it's collapsing. Everything is falling apart. People are not reading books like they did when I was a generation. When I was young, it was not uncommon for people to go to the library and check out 6 books every 2 weeks and read those books. Believe it or not, that's how I really started doing what I do. Because I did not go to college. My Parents, nobody ever mentioned to me, son, would you like to go to college? So I never enrolled in college, but I early on realized what I was missing. So therefore, I would go during the daytime to college campuses and I would check right into the library. I couldn't take the books home from the college library. I would sit and read the books and magazines in there. But I did then go to my local library and I checked out the books and checked them in. And I read 3 books every month on the topics that I wanted to master. And as you can tell, 60 books later, health and prosperity and Pan-African affairs, technology, these are all compelling themes that I keep coming back to. You have been tuned into LIB Radio, LIB TV, and livinginblack.com. I want to thank you all for your attention. Nobody said a word to me. Ooh, Shabaka, you just rescued your family. Shabaka writes, greetings, Baba Kiti and family. I try to avoid that poison. Yep, you're right, Brother Shabaka. And I want to thank you, Shabaka. Thank you, Brother Shabaka, for supporting our emergency fund drive and for everything that you have done for us over so many years. And I cannot thank you enough. Shabaka, you are a champion. You are a champion. And as a champion, you and we're going to change the world. He said, thank you, Baba Kiti. And we are on the same page. Let me double check. Anybody checking in on YouTube, you want to shout out? We'd love to hear from you on YouTube. I give you a shout out. You give us a shout out, and we all move together. So you and I are on the same page. Thank you for all you've done. Today, Tech Talk and Future Talk, we talked about Roundup and Glyphosate. If anybody wants to get my books on the topics, I've got a lot of books on health and nutrition. Get my books at http://kitty.biz/CRP 2012. That's where you're going to get my books. I highly encourage that you get a book, just one book, just try just one. Get Miracle on 2 Feet, Prevention and Recovery from Stroke. Get Living Superfood Solutions and protect yourself from 22 chronic diseases, including the major killers. Get A Year Against Cancer. And please, everybody, let's work today, every day, all day long, intensely on preventing cancer. You don't want to get it. You don't want to go through it. We talked a lot about non-Hodgkin's lymphomas today. You don't want cancer. It's a very disruptive. I had a friend, I just met him 2 weeks ago, and last week he left. He checked out. Because by the time he came to me, and I want to thank my beloved sister for bringing him to me, by the time he came to me, he had lost 90 pounds, was dehydrated, his cognitive function was almost gone. He could barely speak, barely even listen, and he died. Less than a week after I became acquainted with him, I was just trying to say, or maybe a week or so after, I was just trying to say, you got to gain weight. You've got to drink water. You have to gain weight. Eat, eat, eat. He had no appetite. After 8 rounds of chemotherapy, they had wiped out the man's appetite. I say, despite the fact that you have no appetite, you must put that food inside your body. Good food, healthy food, wholesome food. And you've got to drink water. You're dying. I see you in the house, Ed L. Mac. I want to thank you because you have done your part during this month, this August, Black August emergency fund drive. You have done your part, for which I am so grateful. Some people say, well, hey, there's 4 weeks in the month. Let me give a little bit each week. And I salute that. I'm not going to argue against that. That's a great way of taking on a larger task. But if you should choose to contribute once or twice or 3 times or 4 times, do know we needed your help. And do know it is greatly, greatly appreciated. I remember the days back in the day of LIB Radio when we used to do 2 times a year, do our fund drive. We would do it in May and we would do it in December. And I would stay on the air on the radio show for the longest I ever did it was 8 hours, not straight, 8 hours, take a little break every now and then, every hour or two to go to the bathroom and drink some water. But 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours on the air, I don't have that energy now. I do not have the energy of a 44-year-old man at age 70 or 69. But what we do have is a greater focus on our mission. I want to feed the world, mind, body, and spirit. I want to feed the world. I got a letter today from Brother Dwara. It's going to take me a day to reply to him. And the letter was inspired by a note I got from Sister Shingai. She said, let Brother Dwara know how much he is so greatly appreciated. And Brother Dwara is so grateful. He is so gracious. You hear Brother Dwara on our Sunday program, The Mastermind. He's almost always with us. And you know he is brilliant. I know him as brilliant. So on that note, I've run out of things to say. Thank you, Brother Ed O'Mac. Thank you, Brother Shabaka. Enough respect, love to both of you and your beautiful families. And thank you for being a part of everything we do. You've been tuned into your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio. We are Living in Black. We are all of that. And tell your friends to tell their friends that we have our own now. And there's a lot that we can do with what we got. There is so much that we can do with what we've got. So I am doing the best I can right now to plug into connect my Bluetooth device so that my sound will go through the sound box, and there it goes. So I want to thank you all for tuning in to your favorite. We aim to be your favorite. We are LIB Radio, LIB TV. We are Living in Black.com. Peace and prosperity to each and every one of you.